I don't think that America has one decent politician left.
We will not vote in 2024.
It's everywhere on the timeline. Everybody's like, I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for Biden.
I don't think Joe Biden's going to win the next election regardless of what we do.
In November of 2024, I will not be voting for Biden.
How are we supposed to believe that the people who would continue to support a president who supports the genocide of Black and brown people in foreign countries wouldn't also continue to support a president who supports the mistreatment of Black and brown people in their own country?
If it were Trump, Biden again in 2024, how likely is it that you would vote for Trump this time around?
I will not be supporting Joe Biden under any circumstances.
Amazing viewer, I'm glad to have you. I must say that I appreciate that you're spending your precious time with me. It's another opportunity to make change. As usual, I must say, these are TikTok videos, compilation of TikTok videos. And as I was scrolling down on my For You page on TikTok, I realized that America is going through an election. There's a lot that is happening in America right now, and looking at them deciding on who to vote in their next election, it's really giving concern, and so many people have given reasons why they should not vote in their next election, and some have said voting for Biden is the same as voting for Trump. So I don't know what you think about this. If you're an American and you're watching this, what's your thought on this? There's a lot of videos that I came across on TikTok. They're saying they can't vote for someone who is supporting genocide, what is happening with Israel and Palestine right now. And yeah, they're against the idea that Biden is giving their support, the American government is giving their support to Israel. So that's why they would not want to see, they would want to cease fire before they know who to vote for. So this is a compilation of TikTok videos, and yeah, it's just people giving their opinions on who to vote, who to vote for, and why should they vote, and why they should not vote for those who are not voting. And yeah, there's a lot, and you can see the way this confusion, and I love the parts where people have given advice of, if you don't vote, then these are the consequences. And what do you think about when you don't like leaders who are vying? Should you restrain yourself from voting, or what should you do? It's a confusing time right now, and yeah, a word for Americans. They need to decide, and maybe a word for them can help them decide on who to vote. I know you can't convince anyone, but we just want to interact with them right now. There's a lot that is happening that should be brought to light,
We will not vote in 2024 if you...
This message is for Joe Biden. You've already lost. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. My generation is going to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you don't want to be forever remembered in history as Genocide Biden, I would call for the immediate ceasefire. Because right now, there's a little chance that you can get out of this as just a war criminal. But if you keep this up, your name will forever have thousands of bodies buried under it. People don't forget that. So if I were you, I'd call for an immediate ceasefire, unless you want that legacy on your name.
It's everywhere on the timeline. Everybody's like, I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for Biden. So let's have a chat. Lefties, liberals, whatever you identify yourself with if you're not on the right. And yes, let's preface this with, we know that none of us are happy with Biden. That we know. We are all on the same page. We are not happy with him. And the response I am seeing a lot of, and it is growing, is, I'm not voting for Biden, no matter what. Okay, so what's your plan? I'm open to hear it. I'm not happy with Biden, but what's the plan? I know a lot of you are being like, I'm not going to be shamed. I'm not shaming you. I'm asking you what your plan is. You're not going to vote for Biden, and then what? So many people, to the point where it's maddening, want to make declarative statements, want to make sweeping statements, and then when you ask them, okay, well, then what happens next? They don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. Okay, so So why don't we play this out? If you are not going to vote for Biden, what are you going to do instead? Are you going to organize for Marianne Williamson? Are you going to organize for Cenk Uygur? Cenk is a naturalized citizen. He was born in Turkey, and right now he is fighting to get on the ballot. Have you guys signed up on his website to help him organize to get on the ballot? We got to think longer term, right? It can't just be about this election. So what are you going to do to organize to make sure that we get direct democracy initiatives on the ballot? Are you working to get ranked choice voting to pass in more states? Because again, we can't just focus on this one election, because even if the election in 2024 went the way that any of you wanted it to, you think anything would be different in 2028? If you're focusing on the duopoly and the problem with the two-party system, letting Republicans take power doesn't do anything to challenge the duopoly. What are you doing now to work so that we can start to undo that system? Or are you not doing anything about it? You're just sitting there saying, let's go Brandon, and I'm not going to vote for Biden, and Trump can win. Are you guys thinking through the consequences? Like, are you? Because all of the big brain ideas that I keep seeing stop at, I'm not voting for Joe Biden. First, explain to me how any other presidential candidate is going to be any different on Israel than he is right now. And I'm sure I'll need to repeat this multiple times because people like to misunderstand. That is not a defense of Biden. Biden has done a terrible job when it comes to Israel and Gaza. But you think that Trump's going to do any better? Trump is the one who moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Trump is the one who did the Muslim ban. Ron DeSantis, let's say he wins, is the one who was proposing that we ban Palestinians from coming into the country. You do not need to remind me that Biden has a ton of issues. I am aware, not a fan. But if that's how you feel, then you should be doing everything you can to ensure he is not the one on the ballot. The primary is the time to do that work, not the general. Just simply allowing him to skate through the primary and then saying, no, I'm not going to vote for him in the general. How does that help? I will continue to ask that. How does that help? The right wing all over this country right now is talking openly about how multiculturalism is a failure. Do you guys understand what that means? What they mean by that? Do you have any idea how dangerous and sinister that rhetoric is? Some of you are out here right now more concerned at offending Hamas than you are concerned about the fact that the right wing is openly talking about ending multiculturalism and outright saying that it was a failed experiment. Where are you? Why aren't you paying attention to this? They're openly talking about expelling Muslims and Palestinians from the country. And unlike the left, where we sit around and we play pretend revolutionary and talk about decolonization, but we can't even go like a week without Starbucks, the right actually follows through on its threats. That's what some of you are being very reckless about. The right will follow through. So just understand that when you say that even if Biden is the nominee, you're not going to vote for him. Just understand that. Understand that you are voting for a party that is moving us closer and closer to fascism. And if Trump gets in office, if he wins, he won't leave. There won't be any leaving. They've made that clear. And if DeSantis wins, it will be a nightmare for every marginalized group, whether you're queer, trans, a woman, or a person who can get pregnant and needs access to abortion services, whether you're an educator, a worker who cares about unions, veteran, disabled, person of color, and especially if you are Black and in this current climate, Arab. If Trump gets another term, or if DeSantis gets a first term, your life and the life of all the marginalized groups will be worse. They will appoint more Supreme Court justices. I understand the emotion of being mad at Joe Biden and being pissed off that he's not listening and what he's doing, but I don't know how you get from there to I don't care if Trump wins. Please explain that walk to me, because the math on that ain't fucking mathing. And don't even think about protesting if one of them went. DeSantis already passed a law that you can run over protesters. And you guys remember when Trump wanted the military to institute martial law? All you have to do is look at the state record of Ron DeSantis or any of those ghouls that are running in the Republican primary and look at Trump's presidency, and it will tell you everything you need to know about what they're going to do. They've already told you. And if you're concerned, as I am, that we're barreling toward war with Iran, there will be zero doubt or question that that is exactly what Trump or DeSantis would do should they get in office. And some of you guys are like, oh no, it can't get worse. No, it can't be any worse than this. Have you been not paying attention to the GOP? They can always make it worse. In case you're not sure of how much worse the GOP would be, just look at the way they're responding to Biden's response to Israel. We all agree that Biden's response has been horrible on Israel. Well, you go and look at the right wing. They're angry at him because they don't think he's being monstrous enough. They don't think he's being right-wing enough. They don't think he's being bloodthirsty enough. Too many on the left treat this like it is a fucking religion. This is not a religion. You want a virtue signal and you want to bring your offering to the altar. You want to show your fellow congregants that you have atoned, that you are righteous and you are following the letter of the law. Politics is just a series of decisions that you make in order to try to move shit forward. It's not a religion and it's not a fucking aesthetic. How is handing power to the right wing a punishment? Oh yeah? You guys are threatening to burn down everything? I'm gonna give you more power. Take that. You're threatening to turn this into an autocracy? Oh yeah? Watch me help you. Wait till we hand you the mad punishment of letting you get into power again. And they will take all that power and more, because you know what Republicans always do? They vote. So how about instead of making self-righteous videos about how you're not going to vote for Biden, you use some of that energy to organize around a primary challenger? Again, I'm not against like getting rid of Biden, but all of that conversation should happen within our family in the primary. And if you want to have something tangible to focus on, either focus on that or organize around something that would actually make a difference. Organize around a ceasefire. And while you're at it, organize to get Congress to ban members from trading stocks, because that is also making everything much worse. Right now, Biden is losing in all the swing states. So what is the plan for that?
As a registered Democrat, no, I'm not voting for Joe Biden. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know how else to put this. Like, you can't pay me enough. You can't gaslight me enough. You can't feed me those weak talking points. I'm not voting for him. I don't see how anybody in their right state of mind can look at what's going on right now nationally and internationally and scream Biden 2024. It will not sit well with my spirit to know that I cast a ballot for someone like him. This whole concept of gaslighting people into voting for Biden because he's better than Trump, I'm letting you know it's far gone. I'm gonna let y'all know this, Democrats. If you want Biden to win in 2024, you have to come up with a better talking point than just he's better than Trump. I'm letting you know now, vast majority of Americans are not scared of Trump. They survived one administration of Trump. They can do it again. Honestly speaking, at this point, we can't really tell the difference of the two. And I'm not saying this to be shady. Anybody who knows me knows I'm as unbiased as it honestly gets when it comes to political commentary. I don't know if I'm more perplexed with the fact that Democrats think that he's actually going to win in 2024, or the fact that Democrats actually believe that he deserves another term. You're probably thinking, oh, Uduak, he's not that bad. Y'all are boosting. He's done A, B, and C. He's fixed this, that, and the third. Oh, you must not know about the genocide that's happening in Congo that's being funded by the U.S. And I know you know about the war that's going on in... I'm picking my words wisely because I made a video before and it got deleted, so bear with me. Democrats, just hear me out. Hear me out. Just put personal pride, personal ego aside and just listen to what I'm saying. If you want just even a fighting chance in 2024, Biden is not the answer. And Gavin Newsom isn't the answer either. I understand he's on his little media tour, says he's not running or whatever. He's prepping himself for 2028. Whatever the case may be, he's not the answer either. I'm telling you right now, if or when, whatever the case may be when it comes to Trump and his cases or whatever that is, if Trump is on that ballot in 2024 and nothing holds him back from holding that seat, he is going to beat Biden. Period. A lot of people disagree. I'm just letting you know, if you think Georgia is going to show up for Biden the way they did in 2020, you're sleeping under a rock. I don't know how else to put it. And the Democrats out there that's trying to turn a blind eye and pretend that he's doing such a great job, an A+ job, you're doing a disservice. Don't get me wrong, Biden has done some solid things, but he has not done enough for another term in today's climate. People got to realize we survived a term of Trump already. So this whole talking point that, oh, if Trump becomes president again, our democracy is at risk. Y'all said that last time and we survived it. Now what? It's like you have to bring substance. At some point, you got to bring substance and not fear to the American people. Some people call it divisive. I don't even see it as me being divisive because my identity isn't in my party affiliation. Like, I have a personality outside of this stuff. I'm not about to just defend somebody just because we're registered under the same party affiliation. Like, no, sorry. Like, when we die and we stand before God, there's not going to be two lines, oh, Republicans and Democrats. Like, no one's cutting the line to the gates of heaven because you are president here on earth. Like, none of this stuff like matters in real life. So for me, it's about principle. It's about morals. It's about, I'm not about to fold and pretend somebody is the best option just because, for what? It's crazy and it's sad. And it's also frightening to see how uninformed a lot of people are. I already checked it in my head. What's about to happen is already inevitable, to be honest, because we're already in too deep. So whether Biden's in the seat or Trump's in the seat next year, what's about to happen is inevitable. Just the fact that people don't fully grasp the notion that we're chess pieces. Like, we are chess pieces, y'all. And I need that to click. So before you go above and beyond and bend backwards to these politicians who don't even know you exist, I need you to do research. I need you to read. Because it's only a matter of time. And I'm not trying to scare nobody. I'm just letting you know. And don't even get me started with when I saw the list of Democrats who started investing in what's considered like the war stocks. I want y'all to go search that up. Because the Republican list that I saw, I wasn't surprised. But when I saw the list of Democrats, the amount of people who are making money off of, yeah. That's why I tell people, don't put your identity in this party stuff. Like, they're literally on, oh my gosh, I could talk about this all day. Anyways, yeah, long story short, no, I'm not voting for Biden. If you feel like this is being divisive, I don't know what to tell you. Snap, crackle, pop, kaboom. Like, at this point, like, yeah.
For you, and I regret it.
Will you vote for him in 2024?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so since the war in Gaza started, we hear such voices, mostly from college students, again and again. Oh, Biden supports Israel. He sent them all this money, so we're not going to vote for him again. And how exactly do you think that's going to play out? You're going to get Donald Trump, and that's somehow going to be better? If you're Muslim, Palestinian, Arab, or Jewish in America, life is not going to be better for you if you get Donald Trump. This is not a question of if. We have been there before. This reflects a very common issue that we college professors have to repeatedly explain to our students. And that is that while it's very nice to have a candidate that you're really, really excited about, most of the time throughout your life, voting is going to be a choice between two not very desirable options. And if you can't get yourself to vote for the lesser of two evils, you don't deserve to live in a democracy.
I'm not going to vote for Biden in 2024 is maybe one of the most selfish.
So just so everybody knows, Harry is saying that not voting for Joe Biden in 2024 is the most insane and selfish strategy he's ever seen in politics. So just for context, what Harry is saying in that video is he's talking about a young woman who basically said in 2020 she didn't want to vote for either candidate because she thought they were both bad. However, she thought Joe Biden was the lesser of two evils, so she ended up voting for him. Now, fast forward 3 years, she's looking at what's going on in the world, and she's kind of realizing that was a bad decision, voting for the lesser of two evils. So, in essence, that strategy that you're talking about, that is the most selfish and insane thing you've ever seen in politics, was the same one that 80 million of you employed back in 2020. So you're now having a hissy fit because people on your side of the aisle are doing the exact same thing that you guys did in 2020. They're voting for the lesser of two evils. In 2020, the Democrats saw that as Joe Biden being the lesser of two evils. But now, after seeing the world in complete chaos, some of them, or at least, are rethinking that strategy. And as far as that woman you attacked in your video, good on her for waking up to the reality of the situation we're now all in because of voting for Joe Biden. But as far as you'll just keep taking checks from the DNC, so you'll never change your mind. But hey, listen, at least most of the people in the world are waking up to what's actually happening.
In regards to not voting for Biden next year, I'm there. I don't think I can vote for him again. But I definitely can't vote for Trump. Right? We all agree on that. Like, if you're not voting for Biden, you're also not voting for Trump. We need a serious primary challenger to Biden from the left, an actual leftist who can speak to the working class of this country from all walks of life with an intersectional lens. And that candidate needs to be someone who can give Biden a serious run for his money and maybe take him off the ticket. I don't know who that's going to be. It's definitely not Bernie Sanders, who, in addition to being way too old for this shit, is also supporting Israel right now. But I'm ready. I'm ready to go to my Democratic primaries and put down another name other than Biden. But we need to stop focusing on November 2024 and talk about those primary elections. Most people do not vote in their primaries. And if everyone who voted in the general election voted in primaries, Biden would not have been on the ticket in 2020. If we do it this time, he will not be on the ticket in 2024. A third party will not work in this country. Our election system is specifically set up to prevent a third party from ever having a chance of capturing more than maybe 10% of the vote. Stop focusing on third parties. Try to primary Biden. Get him off the ticket and put someone else on the Democratic ticket. That is within our power. All we have to do is rally around someone.
Since I don't know anything about you, I don't know how you would survive, but I suspect that I would survive a Trump presidency much the same way that I did the last time. Now, as an Asian American, I'm aware that my life in the United States is nowhere nearly as harrowing as it is for Black and brown people. However, during the full 4 years of the Trump presidency, I'm not just talking about 2020, amidst dealing with daily microaggressions and weekly macroaggressions about being Asian, it was during those years that my partner and I devised a plan as to what we would do if the United States government started putting people of Chinese descent, including American-born citizens, into internment camps. Because despite what people were told, Trump versus Hawaii did not overturn Korematsu. And no, I'm not going to be telling people what that plan was, because that concern did not disappear just because Biden became the president. I suspect that I would survive much the same way that my family did during the Bush years when we had a protocol while traveling in unfamiliar areas. We look for Asian restaurants, we look for Mexican restaurants, and we look for people of the global majority out and open in public. If we don't see any of those things, we drive on because we assume it's not safe. For 2 weeks when my dad and I were traveling around the country, we didn't see other Asian Americans, so we felt very safe approaching Black and brown people and asking them up front, obviously we're Asian American, where would you suggest that might be safe for us to stay? So unfortunately, by communities, it is true that people of the global majority can and do engage in divide and conquer and uphold white supremacy against one another. This is particularly true among Asian Americans. However, on an individual level, a lot of us do know how to engage in mutual aid. A lot of us are aware of the struggles that other people face, and a lot of us will be honest, upfront, and supportive where it comes to keeping each other safe. And I suspect that I would survive much the same way that my family did during my formative years, which were the worst for us, the Reagan years, when we were experiencing routine property damage and receiving routine threats of violence and unaliving over being Asian. Our protocol back then was don't travel anywhere unfamiliar because we had to assume that it was all unsafe. So this is exactly why I and other people of the global majority cannot easily be intimidated or scared by Project 2025, because Project 2025 has been our entire lived experience. We know that we can survive on the margins, and we also know that we can continue to thrive and advocate for ourselves on the margins. How are we supposed to believe that the people who would continue to support a president who supports the genocide of Black and brown people in foreign countries wouldn't also continue to support a president who supports the mistreatment of Black and brown people in their own country? And for people who are saying that this is beyond Biden's control because the United States has always supported Israel, that should be a wake-up call to you that the United States has always supported the mistreatment of Black and brown people. And between you and my mutual Aaron, you're not going to be the one harmed first. So if you aren't going to listen to him, definitely don't be telling him how to vote.
Today, I realized that progressives and liberals hate Donald Trump more than they hate seeing people of color die. And I realized during Trump's presidency, liberals and progressives were protesting every goddamn week. You guys remember that? the Women's March was massive, and, they protested against the Muslim ban. And it was the first time Muslims in America felt really seen, right? And then, we had the Black Lives Matter movement protest where they marched with us in solidarity. And I started thinking about how in 2021, when Joe Biden had his very chaotic exit out of Afghanistan, and we watched videos in horror of Afghani people trying to flee the country. We saw people flying off planes, people handing their children off to U.S. soldiers. I mean, Joe Biden had no remorse, he had none. And what he then did, as if that wasn't worse, when Taliban took over, he decided to freeze Afghanistan's assets. And this caused massive famine throughout the country. I mean, doctors and teachers could not get their check from the government. They couldn't feed their families. I mean, no U.S. media was even reporting this. It was only Al Jazeera that was reporting it. And they didn't want to report it because it was an embarrassment. It was a failed war. And then, if that wasn't worse, Joe Biden then decides to freeze their assets, but then he decides to give half of Afghanistan's assets to 9/11 victims, the families of 9/11 victims. So essentially, Afghanistan ended up paying for a war that they never started. None of those 9/11 bombers were from Afghanistan. They were from Saudi Arabia. Osama bin Laden wasn't from Afghanistan. He was from Saudi Arabia. And he wasn't even found in Afghanistan. He was found in Pakistan. And did progressives and liberals protest? No, not at all. They didn't care. They just didn't care. But could you imagine if Trump did what Biden did to Afghani people? They would have hung him. The media would have hung him. The celebrities would have hung him. The liberals and progressives would have hung him. So what is it about Trump that liberals and progressives hate the most? It's that he exposes them. He exposes Obama. He exposes Biden. He exposes Hillary Clinton. He exposes Nancy Pelosi. Yes, we know who Trump is. We know he's a racist, but we know where we stand with him. And he's just trying to tell us that, hey, these people that you think are the good guys are doing fucked up shit too. So if you're going to hate me, you should hate them too. And people are like, no, they want to vote for the people who are pretenders. Obama is the biggest pretender of them all. He is the biggest puppet. Obama launched airstrikes and military raids in 7 countries during his presidency. He's committed more war crimes than Trump has, especially in the Middle East. He's killed millions and millions of civilians in the Middle East. He's never been held accountable for his war crimes. Wall Street Journal came out with an article this year where they said that Trump's best foreign policy was not starting any wars. Like, he was anti-war. He wasn't a warmonger. And so because he wasn't a warmonger, he wasn't killing innocent people. We have to recognize that the videos we are seeing come out of Gaza was probably 10 times that during Obama's presidency. We just didn't see it. People like that were dying. Arabs in the Middle East were dying just like that in the Middle East during Obama's presidency. We just weren't watching it. When Trump infamously debated Hillary Clinton and she tried to press him about his taxes, and he turned around and said, why don't you just change the tax codes then? But you won't change the tax codes because you and your little friends benefit off of it. When Nancy Pelosi, Mrs. 100 Millionaire, was asked whether lawmakers and their spouses should be prohibited from trading stocks while they are serving in Congress because they're privy to information about the stocks, about businesses, she said no. Nancy Pelosi is the most shadiest bitch in all of Congress. And she pretends, she hides behind her liberal values, but it's a front. And right now, all of these people I mentioned, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Obama, they're not calling for a ceasefire. They want to see more Arabs be killed, more Muslims be killed. They don't care. They don't care about our lives. So stop telling us that we need to vote for Biden. He is not the lesser of two evils right now. The entire Democratic Party is fucking the same. at least we know where we stand with someone like Trump.
So I don't know if you guys saw this, but recently Biden was asked what are the prospects of a Gaza ceasefire, and he said, none, no possibility. And just like this Twitter person here, I have the same answer for whether or not I can vote for him in 2024. Ain't no way, fuck you, Joe Biden. I just saw a video of this missile being shot into the courtyard of a hospital in Gaza, slicing off the leg of a bystander. This fucking abomination was made in America and launched by Israel under the full authorization of Joe Biden. I want every person who says vote blue no matter who to imagine your family being sliced into bits by this thing. That is what you're voting for if you're voting for Joe Biden. Dr. Jill Stein just announced her candidacy for president in 2024, and I will be voting for her unless there is another better option that presents itself later on. She is pro-ceasefire and she is calling out the war crimes of Netanyahu. This is her Twitter page if you want to follow her, Jill Stein 2024.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.